Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Tech in 10, the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs football show from the Ruston Daily Leader. I am sports editor Matt Bellinson, coming to you after Louisiana Tech's 48-21 victory over the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders Thursday night here at Joy Stadium. It was a pretty late night here at the Joe, but definitely not one without literal and figurative fireworks from the Bulldogs in a must-win game. And so it definitely was encouraging to see, which we'll get into here in a second. But before that, just definitely wanted to send out just prayers to Michael Richard, Louisiana Tech sophomore safety, who unfortunately had to exit Thursday's game in the third quarter. He took a scary collapse, after a big hit, was walking towards the sideline and kind of in front of the training staff and just kind of fell. Very scary situation. And he was down on the field for quite some time, and then was eventually put on a stretcher. And then Sonny Cumbie told us post game that he made his way to Shreveport and is thankfully alert, awake, and talking. And so, like he said post game, that's definitely the most important news to get to. So just wanted to lift that up. Mike's always been a real fun player to talk to. He's a confident kid. Obviously makes a lot of great plays, and so Louisiana Tech's not only going to miss him for what he does on the field, but just for the spirit that he plays with. So just hopeful that I guess as the weekend continues here, that he's able to continue his progress and able to make a full recovery as soon as possible. So definitely thinking about him. As for the game tonight, the Louisiana Tech definitely needed this one. When you looked at the schedule coming out of the bye week after a really tough loss to FIU before your bye, you looked on paper, Middle Tennessee, UTEP, and New Mexico State. On paper, 3 games that you frankly should not only win, but at the very least be competitive in and have a shot to win. And Louisiana Tech took care of business tonight. From the opening, literally they scored on their first 5 drives, all touchdowns, which is just such a rarity when you think to kind of the recent offensive struggles for Louisiana Tech in recent games. And credit Nathan Young. Obviously, that was kind of the big news coming into this one, that Sonny Cumbie gave up play calling duties to Nathan Young after some, pretty disastrous games to start the 2024 season. And, through one game, it seemed to work out so far. I really liked the ability of Evan Bullock to get the ball out quick. They did a lot of cool, slip screens, a lot of different actions to kind of get the ball into playmakers' hands, in a hurry. Evan was really accurate downfield, saw some great third down pickups by him. It was just honestly just an all-around great performance by the offense, which, if you listen to enough of these, it's definitely a rarity when I've come on here and said, hey, the offense played well enough for you to win a game. And they sure did. Obviously put up 48 points. Definitely called off the Dogs there, at the end. Obviously, Jack Turner came in. And I do think if you're Louisiana Tech, I think you have to acknowledge that something had to change offensively. And I think the change was warranted. Obviously, Sonny Cumbie handing off play calling duties to, Nathan Young. And I think you saw Evan Bullock in this offense played a lot more free. Playmakers got explosive. They were able to run downhill a lot more. You saw Amari Wiggins, Marquise Crosby, Fred Robertson, Amani Givens. So many different faces out there that were able to produce some explosive plays. And, I think the key for Louisiana Tech is to keep this, going forward. We obviously saw, against NC State, a couple weeks ago where that second quarter was, wow, look at this explosive offense. Jack Turner's finding True Edwards and Jay Wilkerson downfield. And then pretty much up until tonight, we really didn't see that continue. And so I think if you're Louisiana Tech, I think you have to take what you learned from this game in terms of getting the ball out quick, trusting Evan Bullock to make downfield passes, get downhill in the run game, but also allow your offensive linemen to kind of get to that second unit a little bit quicker too. There was a lot of times under Sonny Cumbie's play calling, I felt like the run game was a little too horizontal. You weren't really allowing your offensive line to kind of establish a new line of scrimmage. It was always just kind of hoping that someone could get the edge. And I think tonight you saw a much improved just run attack, frankly, from Louisiana Tech. And so I think overall, offensively, you have to acknowledge that tonight was such an improvement, and I think an encouraging improvement. I definitely got a sense from some fans and from observers coming into tonight of what, I don't know, if they're going to improve that much. And I frankly kind of felt the same. I just felt, okay, you have pretty much the same personnel. I was kind of, expecting maybe a marginal improvement. I definitely didn't expect 48 points. And so I think if you're Nathan Young on this offensive staff, I think you have to recognize, okay, we have capable playmakers on this roster currently. Now it's up to us to continue what we saw and continue to put them in situations to succeed. And that being said, I don't want to overreact because it's only his second career start and it's 4 career games at Louisiana Tech. I think Evan Bullock is starting to prove that he could be the future for Louisiana Tech at the quarterback position. You're talking about through 4 games this year, he's completing over 70% of his passes, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think if you're Louisiana Tech, I don't know what more you can ask from a kid that's barely played college football. And again, I don't want to pour cold water on a great night offensively, and it was a great night offensively. Someone that's had to come in here and cover 7, 10, 13 point performances. I will take more 48-point performances to watch, but at the same time, you have to acknowledge that Middle Tennessee came in allowing 39 points a game. I think they were bottom 5 in the country in terms of defensive yardage allowed and points allowed. And so that's definitely a caveat. You have to throw that in there for the full context of, okay, Louisiana Tech, great night offensively, so many encouraging signs, but can you sustain it? Can you bring it forward against some of probably, frankly, the better teams in Conference USA, which we'll get into here in a second. I don't think UTEP and New Mexico State would qualify when they're combined 2 wins at this point in the season. UTEP being winless. And so I think if you're Louisiana Tech, I think you just have to continue, trusting Evan Bullock to develop, allow him to honestly take some more downfield shots. I think that was kind of another complaint of Louisiana Tech fans, watching Sonny Cumbie run this offense was, where's the consistent explosive plays down the field, attacking vertically? And I think you saw that so many times tonight. Obviously, True Edwards with the 75-yard touchdown. Jay Wilkerson on a nice crossing route for about 20 yards. There were just so many opportunities for Evan Bullock to really push the ball downfield, and I think that's definitely something that this offense has been missing consistently. Now, again, Middle Tennessee, really bad defense. But I think at the same time, I think there's been so many opportunities where, okay, you talk about Louisiana Tech, and it's like, oh, on paper, Louisiana Tech should blow this team out. Louisiana Tech is better than this team. I think back to the North Texas game last year. I think back to, obviously, the Tulsa and FIU game earlier this year. And then they don't show up. And so I think it's a good sign that you're able to just pound a bad team in submission. I think if you're Louisiana Tech and you want to prove that you can make a bowl game, you want to prove that you're still in this race for the Conference USA title, then you're supposed to beat bad teams and you're supposed to beat them handily. And I think that's what Louisiana Tech obviously did tonight. Obviously, again, led by a really explosive offense and a quarterback that I frankly think is only going to get better. He's really accurate. Like Sonny Cumbie mentioned, I thought he really navigated the pocket really well. Obviously picked up some huge third downs with his legs, just kind of be able to create and kind of find some guys downfield. And so again, I think if you're a fan that came into this game, pessimistic of, what's really going to change in terms of play caller, I think you saw what this team is capable of. Now, I'm not saying going forward they're going to score 48 points a game, but when you have guys like Amari Wiggins, Marlon Jackson, Jimmy Holiday, Evan Bullock, who have proven game after game that they are kind of your True Edwards, you could throw in there as well, obviously. Those are your bona fide playmakers that have proven week after week that they can be trusted to make explosive plays. I do think if you're Louisiana Tech, I think you just have to trust what worked tonight, recognize that you're going against a really subpar defense, but don't apologize and just continue to do what you do well. I think the great offenses just kind of impose their will and basically force someone to stop them. And I think again, if you're Louisiana Tech, there were multiple plays tonight attacking the seams. That Middle Tennessee was not able to adjust. That a lot of explosive plays downfield where guys were not covered. And so I think if you're Louisiana Tech, just stay on the attack, stay aggressive. Because at this point, what do you really have to lose? You're still 2-3 overall. You're 1-1 in Conference USA. There's still a lot of work to be done before you can really say, like, hey, we have arrived and we're firmly back in this race. Again, you needed this one tonight, no doubt. They took care of business. But now if you're Louisiana Tech, you can't go on the road to New Mexico State and lay an egg. You have to take care of business against them. You have to beat New Mexico State. You have to beat UTEP, and then obviously and then see what you can do against Sam Houston, who's as of right now probably with Liberty as the Conference USA championship matchup at this point, the way the standings work out. So again, overall, credit to the offense, a great night. Defense obviously took the ball away 2 times. Isaiah McIlvain made some nice plays. Pass rush was pretty good. Jaden Gray had a really disruptive night in the backfield. Colby Fields, again, a really great night for him. So I think it was just an all-around team win for Louisiana Tech, and one that this team really needed. I think if you had come out of your bye week, given all the changes that you had made, 12 days off, new play caller, you're at home against a 1-4 Middle Tennessee team and you lose this game. I mean, it could have spiraled out of control. And I think Louisiana Tech has kind of calmed the waters for now. I think you've excited a fan base of the potential of a quarterback that in my opinion, I think has shown real flashes. I think that now it's a matter of let's build off this and let's trust him to do some more. And that being said, I think you just have to leave this first midweek game happy, just all around. And I think you have to recognize that now, from what you've shown, now you've shown fans a baseline of like, okay, well, we're at our peak. This is what we can be. Now I think it's just a matter of being consistent and maybe kind of bringing this back down to earth and going up against better competition and saying like, hey, we can sustain this. And I think that's the key for Louisiana Tech. So again, a really encouraging 48-21 win from the Joe here tonight for Louisiana Tech. Again, the Bulldogs put up over 550 yards of offense, 7 total touchdowns, just a really impressive night offensively. So the Bulldogs will be back in action this coming Tuesday at New Mexico State. The Aggies are definitely licking their wounds right now. I think they're 0-3 in conference play at this point. So that's a game that you got to have if you're Louisiana Tech. And we'll see how the Bulldogs handle it. So for now, this is going to do it for this edition of Tech in 10. I'm sports editor Matt Bellinson saying thank you for listening. Have a good one.